When you go to the range, what distance should you be training at? Oftentimes people go to the range and they do one of two things. Either they train just at a short distance, like 5 yards, or they want to push their targets all the way out at like an indoor range at like 25 yards and train with their handgun. But which is better? Well, it really comes down to what you're using your firearm for. If you're using your handgun for self-defense, you should probably consider shooting more at a closer range. Now, the reason we say this is because if you think about the FBI study that came up with the rule of 3, which isn't a rule, it's just a generality, it says that on average, the average self-defense situation with a handgun is going to take place in 3 seconds or less, with 3 shots or less fired at a distance of 3 yards or less. So with this information, we probably want to make sure that we're training at close distances and feel very confident at getting the firearm out and on target in a rapid time frame. Now, does that mean it's bad to train at long distances? Absolutely not. Pushing your target out to 25 yards is a great way to practice the fundamentals of your marksmanship and see what you're doing, because you should still be able to put fairly tight groups downrange at about 25 yards. If you're all over the target at 25 yards, you know there's something wrong with your fundamentals. And if you're able to adjust that target down at long distances, then when you get closer up, you'll definitely be able to hit your target. If you're a fan of the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson, you remember his favorite quote, "Aim small, miss small." And that same principle applies. If you're aiming far, that means you'll be able to hit close. But the thing you want to be cautious of is when you're putting out at 25 yards, if that's where you're training for self-defense on a regular basis, you want to think about how far 25 yards is. If you're at 25 yards, what are the odds you're in a situation where you need to use deadly force? Not saying it couldn't happen. There are situations where that could occur, but usually that's a situation where you could escape rather than going in and using deadly force. So again, in summary, at the range, you should definitely be training close, 3, 5, 7 yards, etc. And if you want to practice for some distance and marksmanship, then 25 yards is good. But be sure you're training for that close encounter.